So this is a whole brand new presentation, and Pat and Elizabeth let me do that. Thank y'all for letting me come up on the stage, man. We obviously had an independent, and I'll get into that, but when we went to the Cabo trip a couple months back, man, there's some special things going on at EXP, so we're excited. So let me ask a question. What's the percentage of agents at EXP that do rev share? Anybody raise their hand? Anybody know? 5%. So 5%, right? So there's 5% of agents at EXP that do rev share. So what are the other 95% of people doing?
Want to sell more houses.
They want to sell real estate. So I think it's awesome. Rev sharing, listen, I'm all about multiple income streams. Like, that's like the name of the game for me. Like, I'm so passionate about that. Like, my wife and I own 20 companies. So I'm all about creating rev share and all those things, but there's no rev share to be had if there's not productive agents. If they're not selling real estate, there's no rev share to be had. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how we can double down on making sure that people in our line are productive. And I think Mitch and I were talking about it. Natasha, Elizabeth, we were talking about, I think the statistic is almost 50% of the people in your organization aren't being productive. So we got to get agents more productive, and if they're productive, then that helps your rev share, right? All right. So individual agent versus the team, I think this is a pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it in our industry, so I'm going to talk fast. So Phil Jackson, obviously everybody knows who he is as a great coach. The strength of the team is the individual member. The strength of each member is the team. So I'm not going to talk about all this. I literally copied this off Clubhouse. Threw it up there. But obviously former Texas A&M, Green Bay, obviously I want to talk about that more. There was a time in my life I didn't talk about it. But obviously that's a great achievement. And my wife and I started a brokerage from scratch, independent, in a small town, average sales price of $250,000, and we scaled it to $1 billion in sales in less than 8.5 years. So we know how to scale and grow. And I know Elizabeth said 60 agents, we did it with 30 agents. But that was staffing and all that stuff. So there's just kind of some of the things that we've done as an individual agent, actually getting ready to close my 50th $1 million deal this week. So in 9 years, I've closed 50 $1 million transactions. And I know for you people that are in Beverly Hills in New York, it's not a big deal, but in College Station, to close 50 $1 million deals, you're doing something. So this is just some stuff that we're doing. I'm gonna blow past all this, but we're doing development. My wife and I have done 100 million in acquisitions and development with no capital raised, and the list goes on. So if you want to hear more about that, check me out on my podcast. So I think as my first year, once we were doing development, I went to Keller Williams, which is where everybody tells you need to go to be productive in coaching and all that, whatever. And I was trying to figure out, as you can tell, it wasn't a good experience. But I'm not going to be negative. And so after doing 7 transactions for $1 million, I was pissed, I was frustrated, and I knew I could do more. But you're trying to figure out the code to success. And like we just said earlier, 95% of the agents at EXP want to sell more deals. Rev share is awesome. It's the 8th wonder of the world. I really think it is. But we got to get them productive. So here's the sobering facts. You guys may know this, but 50% of agents are out of the business after year 1, right? The 50% that make it to year 2 are out of the business after year 2. And by the time you get to year 5, 87% are out of the business. So you can be growing your rev share, but if you're not making sure they're productive, they're gonna do what? They're gonna get out of the business. They're not gonna be around. And so some of the issues that we're having is they don't understand time block. They aren't willing to get on the phone and have real estate conversations. They want to get on the phone, but then they want to be passive. Like, well, how many conversations did you have today? 100. Did you talk about real estate? No. Shit, why are you on the phone then? You know what I mean? So they don't study the contracts, so they don't have competence. Because I always would say competence creates confidence. If you don't know your contracts, you don't know what you're talking about, especially when you get into higher end deals, investors, you're not going to succeed in this industry. So this is an epidemic, guys. People, like real estate agents are falling like flies, but no one's talking about it because we just keep bringing more people into the industry. So we got to get people productive. So 10 pain points, I'm talking fast. They need to understand once they get production going, it's transaction services and support, coaching and accountability, courier services. When you start getting a lot of listings, to have people put your signs out, lock boxes, fly, that saves you some time. Leads, processes, and systems, needing to know how to get more listings, because we know listings is leverage. Help with lead gen, framework for marketing, and the guidance on how to scale. You have to keep continually growing, because we know we're only as good as our last transaction. It's just like sports. I could go out and have a great game, but after we watch film on Sunday, the next week no one cares. So you gotta be continually pushing and going. So we are one of the only industries, when we get our job done, we get fired. Think about that. If you have a buyer that you had a great experience with, you converted them, you closed the deal, they love you, everybody takes the closing photo with the thumbs up and all that stuff, and you give them the keys, and when you walk out, they lose your number for a couple years or maybe never call you back. The hard part is, even when they do call you back, sometimes you gotta compete for their business again. And so what we don't realize is, like, insurance agents create recurring revenue, financial advisors, CPAs. So there's ways to create recurring opportunities, and we need to be thinking about that. But it's a problem and we gotta solve it. So I've studied this industry a lot. I've talked to all the top producers in the United States. I've really studied. These are the ceilings that I've put together, and I've coached hundreds of agents, because everybody, when we started our independent, we wouldn't hire agents with experience. So I would take brand new agents and get them to 8 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. One of the ladies that I coached, I got her to 35 million. And these are the ceilings that you're gonna run into. There's gonna be a time when you gotta make a decision. Are you willing to trade time for work and keeping that work-life balance? But an agent who does 5 million, so go from 0 to 5, they're gonna hit a ceiling right at about 5 million, depending on your average sales price in the market. So there's gonna be some things that you need at 5 million that you don't need at 1 million, or there's things that you need at 8 to 10 million. So there's different levels to this. And when you get over 50 million in production, there's certain things you gotta have in place that I'll talk about real quick. Let me ask you one more question. In your career, do you ever feel like your client expectations are unrealistic? Raise your hand if you've seen that as a realtor. I think everybody in the room, right? Here's why. We're not competing in the real estate industry anymore with each other. Those times are gone. We're competing with other consumer industries. So the customer experience, the expectation, the efficiency. So Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, these disruptors that are coming in, changing other industries, the way that people shop and the way that people are serviced, that's what we're competing against as real estate agents. So just understand, everybody in here knows the efficiency of Amazon. It's pretty obvious. And Uber and Airbnb. And we gotta be thinking like that now. We can't be thinking about the old school way of real estate. Like, how can we ramp up the experience? Because the key is creating an experience. So I was gonna ask this question, but I know I'm running short on time. But I was gonna ask you, did you know how many tasks per transaction have to be done by a real estate agent? This is it, on average, give or take. So there's about 90 things that need to be done on a transaction, on both sides. So imagine if you have the listing as a single agent and you bring the buyer. You're doing an intermediary. You have 180 things that you gotta get done in a transaction in 30 days or 2 weeks or 45 days. And that's the reason why agents are burning out. Once you get it under contract, here's just the transactional piece. There's about 16 to 18 hours on average, 30 tasks between 5 parties. And you can see why at some point, if you're gonna scale your business as an individual agent or a team or the people in your line, they're still trying to hold on to everything themselves. They're trying to do all of this. This is once they get the contract. This isn't even before. And you gotta get TC teams and things like that. So here's what we can learn from Starbucks. Consumers know what to expect when walking into Starbucks, no matter the location. And they have scaled year over year growth, and they curate a consistent experience. No matter if you're in New York, Starbucks, or Dallas, it doesn't matter. You're gonna get a consistent experience. This is what we gotta be thinking about as realtors. How can we create a consistent experience? And when we were focused on this as independent brokers, it was the reason we scaled in 8 years to $1 billion in sales. Because we were creating a consistent experience. We had raving fans all over Central Texas. And the referrals were just coming in because we were creating a consistent experience. And we were scaling and growing at the same time. All right, individual agent mindset. This is where you see agents go wrong. It's one, or the other end of the spectrum. One end of the spectrum is the lone wolf agent. Limited beliefs, not confident. They don't really think they can get the right listings. They're kind of in the industry, but they haven't done the things that we talked about earlier, which creating competence creates confidence. They haven't put in the work, so they're stuck. And then you get this person. That was me. The super agent. They think they can do everything better than everybody else. They don't want anybody to touch their transactions. They don't want anybody to put a sign out. They don't want anybody to do the data entry on MLS. They want to do everything themselves. And we know what that's going to get you. So this is a joke. It's a long story behind the guy with the jersey. But I will say, I'm not just saying that. This is from personal experience. So for 10 years, I did about 75 to 100 deals a year while running the brokerage. And I was doing between 35 to 50, 60 million a year with one assistant. And I was doing everything. And that's called burnout. And so now tactical teams, so with less than 5 agents on my team, we're gonna do 100 million this year in College Station.
Yeah.
We're gonna do 100 million. For sure. And that's with an average sales price of 265. So just know, this isn't to sound cool. I'm telling you, you're gonna run into a wall as an individual agent. All right, so we know what that gives you. The individual agent, meltdowns, burnout, poor consumer experiences, because you cannot do it over and over again. Every day you gotta get up and start over. So the brokers versus the tactical teams. So I was getting ready to scale this independent, doing all these things, and thinking I need hundreds of agents. And low accountability, fast training, they cannot create a consistent consumer experience. But these tactical teams, which I think are like Navy SEALs, highly trained, highly accountable, they follow the processes, they do it consistently over and over again. And I don't even know if Emily's watching online, but we just hired a young lady named Emily. She's had her license for 3 weeks. She's been on our team for 3 weeks. She picked up 6 listings in her first week. She already has 3 pendings, and she's picked up 2 more listings last week because she plugged into our Navy SEAL system. And that's a brand new agent, brand new. So earlier, remember I talked about the pain points, now I'm gonna hit the solutions. So needing transaction services and support, you gotta get a listing coordinators. That's how you leverage. I always say, what's your TBS, time best spent? Henry Ford model we know, create those tactical experts that are really good at transaction coordination, really good at photos, and you just put that team together. Obviously needing coaching and accountability, so team leader giving vision, courier services, team runner, virtual assistants, technology, double down on the CRM. Y'all have all heard it a million times. What's the best CRM? Anybody know? The one you use. All right, needing leads provided, process roadmap, needing to know how to get more listings, listing presentations, and your USP. What is your unique selling proposition? So having that script to match with your presentation is very important. And then needing help with lead gen. We have 15 lead gen strategies that we turn on as soon as you come on the team. It's like a faucet. That's why that young lady was able to pick up all those listings in the first week. I didn't get that many listings in my first week. So needing framework, content, and then needing guidance on how to scale. So here's the hard truth. If you didn't hear anything else I said, hear this one. People become agents for the freedom that the real estate industry promises us, but it's the freedom of the real estate industry that kills agents' careers. It kills their careers. Because they get in thinking, I'm 1099, I can do it all on my own, I can manage my own calendar, and they don't. They don't time block, they pick up the phone at 1 in the morning, they work on Sundays at 7 a.m., they don't set up a business. And we gotta teach agents, I'm telling you, it's a pandemic in our industry. And it's the reason why really good agents are competing against agents who are not running their businesses the right way. The pillars of a successful tactical team. These are the things that you're gonna have to solve in order to put together a really good team. So you gotta have vision. A lot of times people don't realize how much having a visionary at the front of an organization, you have to have a visionary. Has anybody read Traction or EOS? Everybody read that? Y'all already know that visionary is so important. And you gotta have a roadmap. Okay, now we have vision, how are we gonna take that next step? Just like we all talked about. Like, you gotta know where you're going. Listings, you gotta be able to generate listings. You will never scale this your business in this industry without listings. It just is what it is. You gotta be able to get listings. Lead gen, you gotta have the faucets to turn on, leverage through staff and systems, technology, scalability, database management. Even if I have a great experience with you and I'm your client, does anybody notice that? What's the percentage of agents that do not contact their clients after the closing? I know? 87%. So it's almost 90% of agents close a deal with somebody and they never follow back up with that person. So in the beginning, y'all wanna know one of the things I did in the beginning? I just stayed consistently in front of my past clients. Because I was like, if I just do that, I'm in the top 10% of agents. All right? And in virtual assistants, TC, LC services, creative content, everybody on your team needs to have a consistent presentation, listing and buyer presentation. Because remember, we're doing the Starbucks model, consistent experience. Obviously somebody to run errands, and you always gotta have talent coming in. So if you wanna connect with me, let me know. 3 things I'll say real quick. Like I said, I threw this together yesterday, so there's a glitch, but it's all good. All you guys are attractors, right? I am looking for people in your organization that I can teach to be my expansion partner. And you're probably saying, well, why would you do that? They're in my rev share line. Great, you make the rev share. I'll let them be an expansion partner and show them how to run a model and get them to 50 million. So the minimum for my expansion teams will be 50 million in production. You keep the rev share, I'll grow the business. So I'm looking for people that's why I want to talk to Pat, because I want to put a couple teams in San Antonio. But if you're interested in that, just direct message me on Instagram or hit me after this, T5 expansion partner, and I'm going to show people on your line how to grow their business. Okay? Because I'm going to do 20 teams doing 50 million a team. That's going to be $1 billion in sales. And I feel very confident that if I can do 100 million in College Station with less than 5 agents, I can do 50 million in your market. So let's do it. And then I just started a podcast. Some of you rock stars, I want to get y'all on there, so I'm going to be reaching out to you. It's this Real Estate Entrepreneur with Terrence Murphy. And then I'm starting a group coaching to teach agents that are not producing or who want to grow teams and scale. So plug your people in your organization into my group coaching that I'm about to roll out. And I'm going to teach them some of the things that I blew through pretty quick today. So once again, thank you guys for the opportunity, and I appreciate it.